My name is Serena Mack, and this is my cross-cultural presentation proposal. To begin my presentation, I'll provide my topic, employment access and salary equity, and the two countries that I'm focusing on, the US and Russia. I will also include a visual image of a working woman to highlight the PowerPoint's focus on women. Finally, I will include the proper headings with my name, the professor's name, the class, and the date. On slide 2, I will begin the presentation by introducing the health issue. In order to complete this slide, I would like to provide cited information on the overall barriers that women face when it comes to job and salary inequality. I would also like to describe the current wage gap between men and women to establish the data behind the issue. Finally, I want to explain this concept of the glass ceiling that I came upon when researching. I explained the basic premise of this concept on the slide, but I would like to find a more researched explanation. For slide 3, I'm going to describe the history behind this health issue. This includes research that I'm going to do in order to determine where the wage gap originated from, what social cultural influences have denied women access to certain jobs, and the history of women's struggle with the job market. I want to cover the effects and implications that job inequality has on the female population. In the preliminary research that I did when making this proposal, I found numerous reports of everything from general frustration over inequality to complete outrage. I would definitely like to research this further. Finally, I would like to discuss previous/historical barriers that have stopped women from closing the wage gap in the past. These barriers may prove to be relevant to the problems occurring today. Moving forward, slide 4 will introduce a basic comparison between the US and Russia when it comes to this health issue. The purpose of this slide is to introduce the countries that I'm focusing on by providing basic statistics, things like current employment rate, average wages for women, and the current wage gap, respective to each country. The following 2 slides of this presentation, after slide 4, will include information specific to each country. Slide 5 focuses on this health issue in the United States and how the population of American women are affected. This slide will include a discussion of the various factors that specifically affect women in the U.S. I'm hoping to include, but I'm not limited to, political positions, educational opportunities, and societal factors that directly impact the current wage gap and occurrences of job inequality for women. Further research definitely needs to be done in order to provide statistics that are relevant to the U.S. and this issue at hand. Slide 6 serves the same purpose as slide 5, but this will include information specific to Russia. This slide will include the same information as the previous slide, but will focus on factors that are more specific to women who face this problem in Russia. Once again, I'm hoping to include, but I am not limited to, political positions, educational opportunities, and societal factors that I will be including on this slide. I need to do further research in order to find statistics that are more relevant to Russia and this issue that can be used for later comparison against the United States. On slide 7, I'm going to highlight the cultural similarities among women from the US and Russia. I'm hoping to find connections in my future research that show influential factors relating to both the US and to Russia regarding this issue. This slide will include information on both the wage gap and job inequality that women in both the countries are subjected to. I will use cited sources to show similarities between women in both cultures on this slide. Slide 8 is going to serve the exact opposite purpose as the previous slide. I'm going to highlight all of the main differences between women's experiences with job inequality in these different countries. Further research needs to be done to find specific sociocultural factors that I can include that differ between the US and Russia. Once again, I will be touching on subjects of job inequality and the wage gap on this slide. Slide 9 is going to cover the ethical considerations and actions portions of the required information for this project. I'm going to research and find different programs that are currently in place in both the US and in Russia to help women close the wage gap and promote job equality. I'm going to include specific organizations and ongoing protests that will be cited on this slide and possibly include links to advocacy websites for further research. I'm going to include current constraints that occur when promoting and advocating for job equality. This section will be sure to highlight the cultural challenges that occur when trying to cause positive change for women around the world, specifically in the US and in Russia. Slide 10 serves as a summary and conclusion to my PowerPoint. For this slide, I'm planning on summarizing all of the information that I've given on wage gaps and job inequity in both the US and Russia. I will accomplish this by giving short summaries for each country, along with the biggest similarities and differences that I found between the two. Finally, I will use this slide to conclude my conversation about inequity for women in the workforce. I want to include something about how there is a need for continued advocacy, and I want to share some goals for future regarding this health issue.